everyone. This is Stefan D. Bowden, and welcome to episode 2 of the Flow University YouTube channel. Last episode marked the first episode of the Flow University YouTube channel, and the topic of discussion was how you can kickstart a fitness and personal development journey. Today's episode will be similar to last episode, where there will be key takeaways and practical steps from which you, the viewer, will be able to implement and from which to help aid you in continuing down that fitness journey. The focus of today's episode will be how you can build momentum after sparking and implementing the necessary steps to get you started on that fitness journey. I hope you all enjoy today's episode. Make sure to click like, click subscribe. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please shoot an email at flowuniversity1@gmail.com. Look forward to you all enjoying this second episode of the Flow University YouTube to sustain that drive, that motivation, that vigor as you are beginning to walk down that fitness journey. Is you want to be extremely subtle. A lot of individuals, when change is presented to them, the ego will try to protect itself. And the ego wants to protect itself because the ego has been formed based on past experiences and the relation the self has to the external environment and others around it. Essentially, the ego exists as a protection mechanism for the self, and it is used by the self to help the self to have context in relation to the external environment. So after you have gained the inner vigor and drive to undergo a series of changes in your life, the next thing you want to do is you want to have the subtlety to continue to engage in that behavior. A lot of times when you are beginning that journey, and this has happened in my personal life, is that you will begin extremely quickly and you will fall into things really, really fast. You will purchase a program, you will buy a gym membership, but then you might even have a workout team or workout buddies, but the environment that you are in isn't set up in such a way that will lead to your success. And so if you extremely change the environment too fast, a lot of times it's too much for the ego, and a lot of people will run away from that. So if you want to sustain lifelong development and you want to sustain lifelong engagement with physical activity, you want to subtly change your environment that you're in. In the last episode, I explained how fitness is a tool, fitness is a mechanism by which we as human beings have enhanced our likelihood for survival. And the body adapts to the environment that it's in. It is embedded in our genetic code. It is essentially, what I'll be explaining is a small little indicator into how you can begin to biohack. And so you want to set up the environment that you're in, your house. You want to set up your work environment in such a way that puts you in the prime placement for success. And so what being subtle will do for you is being subtle will cause you to embed certain actions and certain things into your subconscious. There's a great book called Atomic Habits that helps to illustrate this very fluently in such a way where you don't want to, a lot of times when individuals go to cause change, they will literally try to become someone completely different, but the environment that they're in isn't set up such a way to sustain that. And so you want to begin to shift your environment. And so being subtle is, okay, instead of, all right, I've purchased a gym membership, I have my workout buddies, and I have all of that set up. Now I need to set up routines that aid in this. So one thing I would do is I would make everything for myself extremely simplistic. So when I wake up in the morning, I have my vitamins, I have my amino acids, I have all of my supplements set up right by my refrigerator. It's right on top of it. So when I wake up in the morning, I wake up, I walk through the living room, I walk to my fridge, open it up, grab my water, boom, the vitamins are right there. And so it's extremely subtle, but it aids in the lifestyle that I'm trying to live. It aids in the environment that I'm trying to set up for myself. And so if your environment isn't set up in such a way that will lead to your success, it's going to be hard for you to sustain that success, even though in the beginning you have the initial mental and mindset. You want to essentially play chess with all the different aspects of your life. And a lot of individuals, what will happen is they will have a brief spark of the need for change, but everything else around them isn't aiding in that change. And so being subtle is setting an alarm clock at 5 o'clock to remind you to go train for 30 minutes. Being subtle is setting out your workout equipment on your bed before you leave to work so that when you come home from work, you remember, oh, I have to go work out. Being subtle is placing a water bottle in your car so that on your way to work, you have water to drink. Being subtle is having a reminder on your computer 30 minutes before you leave work. Oh, that's right, I got to go to the gym today. Being subtle is instead of taking the most convenient way home that goes past that one fast food restaurant that you love going to, you decide to take the other route home so you don't see that place and you don't end up eating there. That's what being subtle is. Being subtle is slowly changing your environment in such a way that will lead to likelihood for your success. And this is very important in building momentum, because if you can slowly stack those pieces, let's say every day you're like, okay, I'm going to be subtle and slowly change my environment to aid in my success. So you say, okay, today I'm just going to buy one thing of vitamins and I'm going to set that vitamin on top of the refrigerator. So every time I walk in the kitchen, I'm going to see that vitamin. And if you do this one thing a day for 365 days, a year from now, your entire environment, your entire life, your entire ecosystem, and that's essentially what you're trying to create. You're trying to create an ecosystem that will lead to your evolution as a human being. And so if the current environment is leading to a state of you as being of a lower state as a human being, you're not going to be able to transcend past your environment. Some individuals, it's extremely hard. Some individuals have the mindset and the will to overcome their environment, but a lot of times the environment and the influences of the environment work on your subconscious. So essentially what we're doing here is we're trying to hack your subconscious mind. We're trying to hack some of those biological drives within you and get it to shift within such a way that'll lead to the outcome that you want. So for me personally, I knew for myself that I loved eating like quick snack foods. So like chips, candy, cookies, all those things, especially if you're bored. And especially if you're bored or if you do a lot of computer work, it's extremely easy if you're sitting down all day and you're doing a lot of monotonous work. And even if you have music in the background, it's kind of hard to kind of stay dialed in. And so kind of those snack foods will kind of come up and you just start eating almost mindlessly. And so the being subtle is, okay, maybe instead of having chips and cookies, I'll have nuts, or I'll have a couple raisins, or I'll have some fruit instead. That's one way to be subtle. Or another way to be subtle is I'm going to take all of the junk out of the house. Another way to be subtle is, okay, instead of drinking, and this is a process. So this doesn't have to happen too fast. A lot of times when individuals go too fast, the shock of being thrown into a new environment is a little bit too much. It's for you individuals that get off on taking cold showers. When you first begin to take cold showers, the initial water it's extremely cold. You almost want to get out because the shock of it's too much. But over time, your body adjusts to the temperature of the water. And so you want to do this when it comes to building a lifestyle of healthy and high level living. You want to start slowly. Because if you start and you just throw yourself in there, you're going to want to run. A lot of individuals, when they begin to, if they haven't ever gone to a gym, or if they've been living a sedentary lifestyle and they begin to re-engage with physical activity, when they go to some of these box gyms, or they sign up for Orange Theory or Solid Core and they enter into these environments, it's such a shock for them that the initial spark in their mind is to completely run. And it's really almost a survival mechanism, because if the body is placed in an environment that it isn't set up for success, in the old times, if you were placed in a situation, if we were out in nature, we were placed in a situation where our body was in a state of shock, that probably meant that we were going to die, or we were in immediate danger. So in today's world, it's a key indicator for us to know exactly what's going on for us, but do not allow this mechanism to control your life. Essentially, fear is a good indicator that something could be a threat, that something could be dangerous to us as human beings. But this shouldn't direct your life. It should influence and make you aware of certain decisions that you should be making, but it shouldn't direct and dictate the destination of your life. So by being subtle, you can underlie some of the more overhead structures that are happening in your life, especially for you individuals that might be in environments that might not be the most healthiest. If individuals living in third world countries, individuals living in more impoverished communities that don't have access to fresh organic foods, that don't have access to the highest quality of water, that don't have access to some of the more unprocessed, more high-level foods, individuals that might not have the means to buy a lot of healthy objects, or have the necessary resources to engage with fitness in terms of how we are in the United States by going to a box gym. So by being subtle, you can make very small shifts to your environment that will lead to an evolution for yourself. And this can even help for individuals that are in academics, individuals that are high-level professionals. You want to set up and optimize your environment for if you're trying to optimize productivity, if you're trying to optimize focus, if you're trying to optimize performance, any of those things. Being subtle and slowly shifting your environment, a year from now, you have made 365 subtle changes. The degree and the percentage of growth from that will be astronomical. And this really leads to the second key. The second key in helping you to build momentum after sparking that fitness journey is you want to be adaptive and flexible. There's a quote that says that the stiffest branch in the forest is easily broken, but the other branches are more easily bendable. Those are more likely to survive. And this really speaks to us as human beings. The more rigid you are, the more hard and closed off you are, the less likely you are to be able to change to the change in the environments. And this speaks to almost a evolutionary aspect to ourselves as human beings, is that if you are more easily able to adapt, if you are more flexible to the ebbs and flows of what goes on to the external environment, then you're more likely to be successful, and you're more likely to maintain that inner drive and that inner vigor in engaging in physical activity, because now you are able to shift yourself to what's going on. And so by being subtle, and number one, this aids in being adaptable and flexible, because no matter what environment you're thrown into, you're able to subtly change that environment to help you. But also, you're able to be adaptable and flexible in such a way that you're able to mold and bend and formulate around the environment instead of letting the environment form you. And this speaks to more so the state of modern society and how capitalism, for its plus and minuses, pros and cons, has led to a state where a lot of corporations, a lot of businesses, they're trying to maximize profits. And in a world such as that, in the maximizing of profits, it might not lead to the most healthiest of products that are being produced. And so for the individual, if you can be adaptable and flexible within this environment, now you know, okay, I need to subtly set up my environment in such a way that I'm not influenced by what these corporations and these businesses are doing. I'm able to adapt to the external environment and keep a good head on my shoulders and see, okay, what is it that I need to do now? Because before, going to the local grocery store might have been the healthiest option for us as human beings. But now the local grocery store might not have all of the healthiest options. So now I might have to go to a farmer's market, but you might not have ever gone to a farmer's market before. And so it's subtly shifting yourself and being able, okay, now instead of eating here, I'm gonna eat here instead. So it's having that open-mindedness to perhaps take on a different perspective as well. And so if you are able to do this, this will help you to build that momentum. I remember me as well, when my first inclinations of fitness used to be in the beginning stages of my journey, was that fitness was only something you could do in a gym, is only something you could do having certain equipment. But my adaptability, my flexibility, especially with my life, being a business owner, someone who's extremely hardworking and has an entrepreneurial spirit, my time began to decrease. And because my time began to decrease, I couldn't engage with fitness as much as I wanted to. And so I had to adapt and be flexible into what I thought fitness was. And for me, that led to, I don't have to go to the gym to work out. I can work out in my living room. I can work out on my balcony. But if you are stuck in a rigid mindset, you won't be able to evolve into being able to play chess with fitness in such a way that you're able to engage with certain environments in almost any manner you want. And so being flexible will extremely help you out, and it will keep that momentum going, because you'll be continue to have that habit in your life, but it might just look a little different. For example, let's say you've been taking a certain vitamin, and it's vitamin, we'll choose an arbitrary vitamin. Let's say you're taking vitamin C, and you've been taking the specific vitamin C for 6 years. And all of a sudden you go to the store and they don't provide this vitamin C anymore. And they provide a different product, but it's vitamin C, but it's in a different, kind of compartment. And so you have to be adaptable. Like, okay, how can I get my vitamin C now? Are you going to get it through more natural means? Are you going to go outside more, or are you going to choose a different product? So being adaptable will really help you out in maintaining that momentum. The third key is you want to biohack and create a unique ecosystem. And this is extremely important and this really speaks to the individual, because every single person's life circumstances is different. And what you'll see a lot of times in the fitness industry is a lot of individuals will try to put a one fits all solution to every single person. But for the CEO living in California, their unique ecosystem is completely different from the farmer living in Texas. And so for each individual, their engagement with fitness will look different. Their healthy and high level ecosystem will look different, but this also looks different from the kid living in urban New York. And so for each person, you have to essentially, you can get into biohacking, but essentially you want to craft and create your own unique ecosystem that will lead you to the pathway and that end of the road that you're trying to get to. And so if you're an individual looking to maximize your health and your wellness, and you might be in a place that's more detrimental to you, especially for my guys living in the inner cities where they don't have the most organic foods. You're not going to be able to buy fresh blueberries, bananas, and all the latest herbs and greens, and the meat might not be the best meat. A lot of times in more impoverished communities, you're going to get more so that more processing farm meat. And processing farm meat, we can get into the spiritual aspect of what they do to the animals, and how we can get into that in later videos, but you might not have access to some of the more high level foods that will really maximize your biological aspects and functions of your body. And so for the individuals that are in those types of situations, you have to going back to number 2, you have to be adaptable. And then number 1, you have to be subtle. But you have to know and be extremely aware, going to video 1, of the unique situation that you're in. And so every single video to make it all ties in together. And so number 3, in crafting that unique ecosystem, you want routines. And You want to craft habits. You want to set up yourself in things in such a way that it makes things effortless for you. You don't have to think too much about it. If things become, we as human beings, we value simplicity and convenience. If something becomes too hard for us as human beings, we're more likely not to do it. And for individuals that are living in situations where it's not the best of situations, the simplest and the most convenient thing isn't to put more holes in your pockets. The most simplest and convenient thing is to buy the most cheapest option, or the option that won't lead to you being struggling in other manners. And so for my individuals that are in this position, education and knowledge is extremely important for you, and knowing exactly what it is that is healthy, what is unhealthy, what is heavily processed, what is unheavily processed. Okay, can I eat canned food? Some canned foods are good for you. Can I eat some of these foods? They might be a little bit more processed than I want it to, but this is better than nothing. And understanding that, and then crafting the environment in such a way that, okay, I know that eating at this restaurant, they have a value menu, and they only, for a good meal, it's only $5. But if I go to the store, I have to spend $15, $20, $25 for a meal. It's learning, okay, I can go to this grocery store and I can buy healthy foods, and it's not going to put a huge dent in my pockets. So, and then having certain indicators in place that puts you in the prime example, or it's setting up your own unique ecosystem. Like, okay, the grocery store that has, I remember for me, fresh out of college, you're not making that much money. So I was, I'm trying to live a healthy lifestyle. For me, I realized, hey, Aldi, I can get way more when I go to Aldi than I can go when I go to Safeway, or when I go to some of these other places. Or buying in bulk is good for you as well. You can get a lot more if you buy in bulk. And so crafting your own unique environment, figuring out, okay, what is my ecosystem? Where's my grocery store? Okay, where's my gym? Okay, do I need to go to the gym? Some people, some gym memberships are expensive. Some of these more high level gym facilities, if you're going to Lifetime, they charge well over $100. Some of these more private facilities are charging close to $100. You have, and this is why I say fitness can be done anywhere. And I tell people, when you're crafting your own unique ecosystem, you have to do what works for you, because people will talk down on Planet Fitness. People will talk down on some of these other facilities, but they're not talking down because it speaks to anything about the fitness or the level of fitness, or these people trying to live a healthy lifestyle, or because they understand the people's unique situation. It's more because the individuals view themselves at a certain level and they look down on other individuals. If you meet people like this, disregard them. They're irrelevant. You play your game, and the game you're playing is going to lead you to far more success than those people, because they'll be stuck at a certain level because they've locked themselves in a mindset. So you play your game, you continue down your journey, and you stay locked in and you stay focused. So when you're crafting that unique ecosystem, you figure out what works for you. I remember I was working at Planet Fitness. I was working night shift, and I didn't have money to afford to go to one of those more big time gyms, the ones that was like $100 and $100+. And so I was working. My plan was, okay, I'm fresh out of college. I'm still trying to finish my degree. I got some certifications. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to work in Planet Fitness. They pay good money, especially it's an opening job. Especially if you're trying to be a trainer or something. You get your foot in the door. You can see a bunch of people. It's don't allow certain individuals in the industry to craft opinions on what they think fitness is. In the last video, I explained how certain people will formulate certain ideologies. And in the fitness industry, there are toxic ideologies. Gym culture is not a high level of ego development. It's a very low tribal level of ego development. So don't fall into that, especially when individuals begin to tell you exactly how. No. You need to take a step back and figure out, okay, this is my unique situation, right? This is how flexible and adaptable I can be. I'm going to be subtle, and then going to video one, going through, okay, I'm incredibly aware of what's going on. I've had that intervention. I've formulated and crafted a why. I've set up success. Now I need to make sure that my life is in such a way that I can continue to do this, because the thing that saddens my heart the most is when I see individuals and they want to They want to be healthy and they want to go down this pathway of success and extreme development. And fitness is a foundational piece to each and every person's life. It should be a foundational piece to each and every person's life, because the changes that will happen to you, not just on a physical level, but a mental and spiritual level as well, is exponentially. You'll learn so much about yourselves. The Western society has, while Western society values more of the intellectual and the mental prowess of an individual, has gotten away from the physical aspect of oneself to the detriment, because both are interconnected. You can't have a high level of mental thinking and mental prowess if the physical aspects of your body aren't operating at a high level. And fitness can aid in this. And so optimizing your creating a unique ecosystem for yourself based on the other key indicators will help you out so much. And don't let anyone say that you shouldn't. Don't let other people, you figure out what works best for you. And then from there, subtle changes can be made. If you have to start working out at Planet Fitness, start working out at Planet Fitness, and then work up to some of the more high level places. Or if you can't even afford to work out at Planet Fitness, if you want to work out in your living room every day, if you come home, not in the living room, in your bedroom, if you say, man, like, let's say you're in a situation and you're trying to save it for college, or you're trying to save it for a house, or you're trying to save it for something, and you want to begin to re-engage with physical activity, and your unique ecosystem is like, man, I can't go to Planet Fitness, I can't do this, but hey, man, my bedroom, all I got a couple bands, I got a kettlebell, and I might got a dumbbell. That's all you need. That's all you need. Or let's say you are the CEO. Let's say you're a CEO or a business owner or a high level professional, and you're traveling all around the world and you got all this going on. And you're like, man, I don't have time to go to a box gym and train for 45 minutes to an hour. And it's like, okay, I need to save time. For different situations, different people, different problems. And so for you, this individual, it's okay. You need to save as much time as possible. You need to make fitness as quick and easy, almost mindless. And so these individuals, it's like, okay, for you, your unique ecosystem is go to Orange Theory. Your unique ecosystem is, all right, go to a class where you don't have to, other individuals, you don't have to think too much. From you, it's buy that program. It's all right, you can work out, formulate unique ecosystem where you can work out and it's not taken away from your professional endeavors. And so once you have this, it doesn't matter what level you're at or what level you get to, you can always use it. You can always use this. And it's extremely important. Going into number 4, if you want to build momentum, and maintaining that momentum is, you want connection and support. And this is almost the most important thing. And it's really a pillar within fitness. And so most people, when they view fitness from a singular dimensional perspective. And so they'll view fitness as, I need to just work out. But fitness is multidimensional, and fitness is multifaceted. And so there's different, in what I coined is, when you look at fitness, it encompasses so many things. It encompasses so many aspects, not just of one's life, but so many aspects of being, and aspects when it comes to what it means to that healthy living. And we as human beings were made to connect with others. You can almost say the meaning of life is to discover, develop self, and then give self to others fully. And so when you, as a human, when you're not connecting with others, it makes it hard to connect with self, because your self longs for that love. Your self, it longs for that connection in being with other people, because you get to relate to them. And life is an incredible journey. Life, for its ups and downs, the suffering, the cruelty, the peace, the joy, the bliss, the ecstasy. You want to experience this with other people. It makes it much more powerful than if you're just doing it by yourself. And so if you can do this and have this experience with other people, especially if you're going down a journey of discovery and development, like imagine if you're with a group of individuals, and it doesn't have to be a group, it could be one person. And the beginning, both of you start in the beginning, and then you go down this incredible journey. There will be so much for you guys there will be so much growth and interconnectedness and experience and for you guys to relate to. And so for individuals, you want community and support. It's extremely key, especially because as you're going down the journey, you're not always going to be at a high. Most times when change happens or someone is motivated or someone is driven, you'll start on an emotional high. And the emotional high, you'll ride that high, you'll hit that peak high. You got your workout, you got your workout plan, you got your workout clothes, you got your gym you're going to, you got, you bought some healthy food, you got a nice little water jug and you running high, but then life smacks you in the face. Life throws you a mean hook and you sitting there on the ground looking up at life like, oh man, you just got stolen in the face. And life will do this to you. You'll get a flat tire. Now you can't go to the gym. Now, something happens. Now you can't buy the food you want to buy. Now you got to buy some different food. And so it's having that community of support, because now when problems arises, it's not having other people saying other people are going to help you and drag you along. No, it's you can relate to people, your problems, you might be going down. And people, for human beings, I think we give each other too much credit and too much bad credit. And we human beings, we're so unique and we're so dynamic, and there's so much depth to each and every person that you want to, when you're going down this journey, you want people around that can build you up, and then you can build them up. And there's this yin and this yang where there's this giving of value, and it becomes this exponentially beautiful thing that almost can't be described in words. The English language is extremely limited in being able to paint the picture of what it's like to fully connect with people. It's extremely limited. And so if you can have that connection and that support, you'll go tremendously far. You'll go farther with if you do nothing else, if you disregard episode 1 and you disregard everything I've said in this video up to this point, you will still make it exponentially further than if you just, I remember I was working at Orange Theory, and I was working at other gyms where they did small group training and group training, and these individuals, they wouldn't change their eating habits. They wouldn't do anything else. Some of the most unaware movement patterns, all the way they were doing workouts, but they kept coming. They would keep coming. They would keep coming. They would keep coming, because we as human beings, we want that support. We're much more likely to survive in a group than we are by ourselves. And so having that, okay, like if you, and you don't have to join a group or have that community and that support in the beginning, but at some point you'll need that. I remember when I was doing my powerlifting journey, and I got to a certain point, and it was hard because life gets hard. Like you're not gonna want to get up and exercise every day. You're not gonna want to get up and pick up a dumbbell. You're not gonna get up and want to go for a run. But your friend texts you, in the morning, 6 a.m. Hey man, I just finished the workout. What's up, man? Let's go. And you're like, man, like let's do it. I can do another workout, and you'll get it in. So it's having those people around you to build you up when you're down, and you being able to pull them up, and having that yin and yang. And the last key you want in helping you to build and sustain that momentum is you want a reward and a punishment system. And so this speaks to pain and pleasure. You want a balancing of the scales. You want equilibrium in every single aspect of your life. And there's nothing wrong with pleasure, but when pleasure, let's imagine you have a cup, and in this cup there's a certain amount of water within the cup. And so the water in the cup is pleasure. There's nothing wrong. Like water's good for you. Water's healthy. And so, but when the cup overflows, now it becomes toxic. If you drink too much water, you could die. So something good for you can immediately become toxic if the balancing of the scales aren't maintained. And so what having a reward and punishment system will do for you is it'll help for you to always keep that balance. And this is really what a cheat day is. A lot of individuals, when they say cheat day, they get a little bit too scientific with it. A lot of individuals in the fitness industry, at a certain point, it will get a little too much in terms of scientific, and there's nothing wrong with it. You want the science, but in terms of the everyday individual, it's hard for this to become practical for you when you don't even understand some of the more overhead issues, not to mention the underlying science. So for individuals, you want to have a reward and punishment system. So what does it look like? Let's say you're like, hey man, like let's say for me personally, I love pizza. I love pizza. I love pizza and I love donuts. Like if I can't even explain how much I love these two things. And so, but for me, I know this. And so I'm aware of this. And so I know that if I'm around pizza and donuts, like I'm gonna go ham, I'm gonna go in. So for you, it's okay. Like I don't want to give up pizza and donuts, but how do I manage this pleasure in such a way that it doesn't become detrimental to me? So what this could look like for you is, okay, I'm gonna do 3 workouts a week, and for each individual, this can look completely different. You have to tie this in with all the other keys, especially number 3. So I know some individuals still have 1 cheat item a day. So they're like, hey man, like I'll have 1 Rice Krispie treat a day, and that's my thing. That's my thing. Or one person, they're like, I'll sit and I'll watch Netflix. I'll watch 1 Netflix show. There's nothing wrong with Netflix. There's nothing wrong with these things. These things were created for a reason. They exist for a reason. But when it overflows, a little bit too much. So if you figure out how you balance it. So, let's say you worked out for 5 days. You're like, man, at the end of 5, I'm gonna work out hard Monday through Friday. And on Saturdays, that's the day where I'm gonna go ham. Saturday, I don't do anything. Like I'm not gonna train. I'm not gonna eat healthy. I'm just going to turn off. Like that could be you. You could be the 6 day a week, and then the weekend, party animal. So like you have to figure out what works for you. Each person's in a unique situation, and so figuring out, okay, what is that reward? But then also not just the reward, it's the punishment. So like, let's say you fall off the bandwagon. Let's say you end up, and life's crazy, so you can't control everything. So let's say you were doing good for the first 2-3 weeks, and then all of a sudden you got a conference in Seattle, and in this conference in Seattle, they're providing you with food. You don't gotta pay for anything, and the food's not the best food, but hey, it's free. And hey, I get it. And so you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to eat the food, and the conferences are all day, and you got to do other work at night. So you can't really work out. So for like 2.5 weeks, you're over there in Seattle, and you can't really do too much. I've had clients where they're traveling, they go on vacation, and they got all this other stuff going on. It's like, I can't work out. Like life, literally, I can't work out. And they're being adaptable, they're being subtle, and they're trying to craft their unique ecosystem, but life is life. And so for when this happens, I say, okay, reward, punishment. So let's say you fall off the bandwagon, and you've fallen off the bandwagon for, let's say, 2.5 weeks. So you say, okay, like now the punishment is, okay, I've fallen off the bandwagon for 2.5 weeks. Now I need to counterbalance this somehow. So instead of having, when I get back to my regular scheduled program, usually I have a cheat day every once a week, or maybe you'll skip a cheat day 1 week. Maybe you'll be like, okay, I've been eating bad a little bit, so this week I'll skip my cheat day, and I'll go 2 weeks hard, and then I'll get back to have my cheat day. Or you're like, I have my 1 item every single day. So then you say, okay, I'll cut my item for a couple days. So you do what works for you. You do what will be the best counterbalance to what's happened. But you always want to keep the scales even. So it's keeping the scales even. That's the most important thing. And this will help you to build momentum. And the pleasure is important, because if there is no meaning to the suffering, then the suffering in and of itself will be pointless and useless. There's a purpose to suffering. You're not in the gym sweating and destroying yourself and then recovering just for, like, we're not masochists. We're not sadistic. We're not sadists. Like we're not getting a kick out of just seeing ourselves, just suffer. So there is a meaning. There is the self-discovery, character development. You're building discipline, you're building consistency, but also it gives pleasure so much more meaning. When you have worked on yourself and you have done more and grown more than you ever imagine, when you have that donut, you have that piece of pizza, or you have that Rice Krispie treat, it's so much more impactful, because you know that there was work put behind attaining this thing. When something is just given to you, when you just watch Netflix for 6 hours and you haven't done anything, like it's like, okay, like you just wasted time. But let's say you've been working hard for like 3 weeks, and this is the first kind of day where it's like you have nothing going on. You decide to sit down and like, hey man, I'm gonna watch this movie. Like now it's more impactful. Now you're able to fully immerse yourself within the pleasure, because now you don't have that little voice in the back of your mind whispering in your ear, hey man, you You've been bullshitting. So excuse my language, but it's David Goggins sitting there, in the corner looking at you. No, like, you want to keep that balance and keep those scales even keel. I hope you guys found this episode of value. I hope you found this practical. You can use these 5 keys to help you to sustain and continue to build that momentum as we are venturing further and further down that fitness journey. In the next episode, you guys will have another set of keys that I'll be giving away to help you get even further down the path. You guys stay blessed and enjoy the rest of your day.